Adult education is much debated these days. Surprisingly, a good portion of that debate is on, well, what an adult actually is. We immediately think we know the answer, but you may be surprised at how many definitions there are. This is the one we hear about the most, and it is usually determined by age. This, of course, means there is a worldwide inconsistency as to what age establishes adulthood. Countries have different ages for it, cultures have different ages for adulthood, so do religions. If that weren't confusing enough, regions, provinces, and states of countries often have different ages for various adult activities, like drinking and having sex. There are lots of exceptions to these figures, which only serves to further my point. Using age to determine adulthood is inconsistent around the world. Age is actually being used more as a legal convenience in this way. It's a tool for determining illegality. Regardless, you probably know a young person who is wise beyond their years and middle-aged people who act very childishly. This brings up the concept that adults should be defined more by mental or emotional maturity. Perhaps the 6 adult learning principles only apply to people who have reached that state. Mental ability is often measured in terms of IQ scores, taking the average scores for a particular age. In fact, they often cite IQ scores by age, something like, he has the mental capacity of a 12-year-old. However, this alone may also not be adequate to determine adulthood. There are many people, young and old, who have the mental capacity of, say, an 18-year-old, but they may not have the life experience necessary to think like an adult. Further, they may lack the emotional maturity of an adult, which prevents them from focusing on a sophisticated problem. So a lack of mental capacity or emotional maturity may mean adult learning principles won't apply for people of adult age. On the subject of emotional maturity, let me present you with a situation. This is Jane, an adult. She has worked 20 years as a bookkeeper and has decided to go back to school to better her career prospects. Upon learning she has to take a class in astronomy to get her degree in accounting, do you think she would say, "What good is astronomy? I don't like that subject. I'll be bored. How will this help me?" Or, I've never been interested in astronomy. It doesn't sound particularly fun, but I'm willing to learn what it has to teach me. Truth is, Jane might say either one of these things. However, if you were asking me, the Jane that was open to learning something new, even though she doubts its overt practicality, is showing a tremendous amount of emotional maturity. I would say this was adult Jane. The Jane objecting to taking astronomy sounds like a 7-year-old. I only bring this to your attention because many of the adult learning principles indicate adults want to learn the subject and skills they want and desire to learn them the way they want. Doesn't this concept sound like the emotionality of 7-year-old Jane? Which prompts the question, are the adult learning principles ignoring the emotional maturity of students? It could be that adult learning is specifically connected to motivation. I need to learn a new skill for work. Or, I just need to pass this class to get my degree. Possibly, it's time I learned more about the history of my country. Or, I don't want to get a job. Maybe even, I just want to learn about the things I never knew about before. Some of these motivations are very practical. Others strive to attain self-improvement. This may suggest adult motivations are highly correlated to mental, emotional maturity. Perhaps an adult learner is anybody of any age or any emotional maturity, regardless of motivation, who learns via these 6 adult learning principles. In other words, adult is defined by the principles. If you feel you learn effectively and efficiently using these 6 principles, then you are an adult. Of course, this creates a cyclical definition which further confuses teachers on who should receive adult instruction. Expect the debate about what constitutes an adult to continue, and be wary of any hard and fast definitions.